A day in New York, 1918, Spanish flu. When a city stopped breathing. You step out onto Fifth Avenue on an October morning in 1918, and something is profoundly wrong with the air itself. New York, the greatest city in the world, the place where progress is written into every skyline, where the air is supposed to taste like ambition and possibility, now tastes like something else. Something that coats your tongue and makes you hesitate before each breath. The city you knew has been invaded, not by an enemy with a face, not by a government with a philosophy, but by something invisible that has rewritten the rules of existence itself. In 2 weeks, you will look back on this morning and understand that this was the day New York stopped breathing. The headlines in the morning edition promised certainty. Spanish influenza poses no serious threat, the papers declared yesterday. Citizens urged to remain calm. The words are still fresh, still reasonable, still attempting to maintain the illusion that the machinery of the city will continue uninterrupted. But as you walk through the streets, you understand that the machinery has already begun to seize. The first thing you notice is the absence of noise. Fifth Avenue, the artery of New York's commercial life, is muted. The usual chaos has been replaced by something quieter, more sinister. Fewer people, fewer carriages, fewer of the sounds that make a city feel alive. What remains is a kind of echo, the sound of a place that has already begun to disappear. You pass a hospital. The entrance is crowded. People are sitting on the steps, waiting. Some are coughing. The sound is distinctive, a wet, hacking cough that seems to originate from somewhere deep in the chest. It is a sound that has become the signature of October 1918. A sound that means death is waiting in the wings. The nurses moving in and out of the hospital have the expression of soldiers returning from a war. Their eyes are hollow. Their movements are mechanical. They have seen things. They have held the hands of people dying in ways that the medical profession has no tools to prevent. They have witnessed the machinery of modern medicine, all of its supposed sophistication, fail completely against something that cannot be seen. The masks are everywhere now. More people are wearing them each day. White cloth masks covering the lower half of the face. They give people an appearance of collective anonymity. You cannot see mouths. You cannot read expressions. The city has become a place where everyone is partially erased, half visible, half real. A woman passes you with her child. The child is coughing. The woman's face shows the strain of trying to maintain normalcy while understanding that normalcy has already ended. She's doing what mothers do, protecting her child, keeping her moving through a world that has become dangerous. But there is no protection possible. The invisible enemy is everywhere. In the air, in the breath of strangers, in the simple act of living. You turn down a side street. A storefront is dark, closed. The proprietor is sick, perhaps, or dead, or has fled the city. Dozens of people have fled. Those with money have escaped to the countryside, to cleaner air, to distance. But distance means nothing. The flu does not respect geography. It has already spread to the countryside. It is everywhere simultaneously, a distributed catastrophe, impossible to escape. The concept of October 1918 is impossible for a healthy person to fully comprehend from a distance. But experiencing it, walking through it, reveals the apocalyptic scope. The city has not stopped, but it has fundamentally changed. The rules have shifted. The assumptions have been upended. the feeling of safety has evaporated. You encounter a news vendor. He is selling papers with front-page stories about the war in Europe. The Great War, which has consumed years and millions of lives, is ending. Armistice is expected soon. But the paper's attempts to focus on distant warfare feel hollow. Because something closer, something more intimate, is happening. The war is ending, but a different kind of death is accelerating. Inside homes throughout the city, people are dying. They are dying in beds. They are dying in hospital wards. They are dying in the street. The progression is terrifyingly consistent. Day 1, fever, the sensation of heat rising from inside the body. Day 2, the cough begins. Day 3, the struggle for air becomes the central focus of existence. By day 4, many people are gone. The mortality statistics are being reported in the newspapers, but the numbers feel abstract. Thousands dead in New York, tens of thousands across the country. The numbers are so large that they lose meaning. What has meaning is the absence, the empty seat at the dinner table, the chair in the office that goes unfilled, the voice that no longer responds to your greeting. You pass a church. It is crowded even in the morning. People are praying. They are asking God for protection. But God is silent. The flu does not respond to prayer. It does not respond to medicine. It does not respond to anything. It simply spreads. It simply kills. It simply continues its work, indifferent to human supplication. A doctor emerges from a building. He looks exhausted in a way that transcends normal fatigue. He's been working for 40 hours straight, perhaps longer. He's been moving from sickbed to sickbed, performing the ritual of medicine while understanding that nothing he does will change the outcome. The stethoscope around his neck is ornament now, a symbol of a profession that has lost its power. The government has begun issuing edicts. Gather in groups of no more than 5. Do not cough without covering your mouth. Keep your distance from others. Wear a mask. These rules are reasonable on paper. In practice, they are impossible. New York is a city built on proximity, built on crowding, built on the assumption that people will be pressed against each other in trains and streets and offices and theaters. To enforce social distance in New York is to ask the city to cease being itself. You descend into the subway. The platform is nearly empty. This is remarkable. A subway platform in New York, normally packed with humanity, is almost deserted. Those who are present maintain distance from each other. They do not look at each other. They look at the floor, at the walls, anywhere except at other human beings. The air underground tastes wrong. It tastes thin. It tastes like the breath of sick people mixed with the industrial smell of the city. A man boards the train wearing a surgical mask. His eyes are visible above the mask, and they contain fear. Not the fear of a specific threat, but the generalized fear of a person who understands that the world has become hostile, that the simple act of breathing might be introducing death into his lungs. Above ground again. The street clock reads noon. The day is half over. Around you, the city continues its halting operation. But everyone moves as if underwater. Everything is slower. Everything is more careful. Every interaction is calculated to minimize risk. A conversation from a distance. A handshake avoided. A greeting with raised hand instead of embrace. You notice the absences. Certain people are no longer on the streets. Certain familiar faces have disappeared. A shopkeeper you saw yesterday is not at his stand today. A police officer who was on this corner last week is gone. Have they fled? Are they sick? Are they dead? The not knowing becomes a kind of torture. A carriage passes slowly. Inside, you can see it is filled with bodies, wrapped in cloth. The driver of the carriage does not look at the pedestrians. The pedestrians do not look at the carriage. This is the death convoy, the carriage that removes the dead when there are too many bodies to move in other ways. It passes daily now, multiple times daily. The newspapers continue to insist that panic is counterproductive, that the flu is a manageable crisis. But the newspapers are printed in the morning and are already outdated by afternoon. The story is changing faster than the printing presses can keep up. You find yourself in a pharmacy. The shelves are being emptied. People are buying anything that might provide protection or cure. Zinc lozenges, mustard plasters, castor oil, patent medicines promising miraculous results. All of them are useless. All of them will be consumed by people who will die anyway. But the act of purchasing something, the feeling of taking action, provides psychological relief. If they are doing something, perhaps they can affect the outcome. But the outcome is largely determined by chance, by whether the invisible enemy in the air chooses your lungs as its destination. As afternoon approaches, the weight of the day becomes physical. The air itself seems heavier. The sky is gray. The buildings seem to lean inward, compressing the space. The city feels smaller than it did this morning. The boundaries are contracting. You hear the sound again. The cough. That distinctive wet cough that marks the presence of the flu. It comes from somewhere in the crowd ahead of you. Someone is broadcasting the infection into the air with each breath. The people around that person pull away slightly, a primal reaction to the sound of disease. The understanding begins to crystallize. The city is being eaten from the inside. It is not being destroyed by external force. It is destroying itself through the simple fact of its own existence. The density that made New York powerful, the crowding, the proximity, the constant human friction that generated energy and progress, has become the mechanism of its dissolution. Evening comes. The light is failing. The gray sky has turned darker. People hurry toward home. The subways and trains are fuller as people attempt to reach safety. But there is no safety. Home offers only a temporary reprieve. Tomorrow the same streets will need to be navigated. Tomorrow the same risks will exist. You find yourself in a hotel lobby. A man checks in alone. He coughs as he writes his signature. The clerk behind the desk flinches. The interaction is completed with minimum necessary contact. Money is exchanged without touching, placed on the counter and retrieved from the counter. The man ascends the stairs toward his room. Tomorrow he might be dead, or he might recover, or he might be asymptomatically infected and infecting everyone he encounters. The flu has no sense of timing. It does not announce itself. A person might be spreading infection for days before symptoms appear. The invisible enemy gives no warning, no declaration of war. It simply inhabits the body until the immune system either defeats it or fails. As night falls completely, the city's lights provide illumination, but not comfort. The electric lights of New York, which once seemed like a triumph of human progress, now feel inadequate. The darkness presses in between the points of light. The darkness where the invisible enemy dwells. You return to shelter as night deepens. Around you, the city is attempting to sleep. But sleep is difficult when each breath might be contaminated. Each cough you hear from a nearby room might be the sound of death approaching. Each morning brings the question of whether you will wake to find fever burning through your body, whether you will join the legion of the infected, whether October 1918 will be the month your breath stops. The day is over, but the flu continues. It will continue for weeks. It will continue until the death toll becomes so massive that the newspapers can no longer fully report it, until the bodies overwhelm the city's capacity to process them, until New York, the greatest city in the world, becomes a city of the dying. What would you do? Experience more historical moments through Past Eye POV. Subscribe and let us know in the comments.